Good afternoon. In case you're just joining, this is a virtual masterclass on raising capital for your small business through effective pitching. It's organized by the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN. It is the most prominent government agency responsible for SME development in Nigeria. We just concluded our national MSME conference earlier this month, where we formally launched the Grow Nigerian strategy, through which we plan to provide guidance, resources, both financial and non-financial, opportunities, and workforce support to small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. This effort, which is a training session, is part of the Grow Nigerian strategy to support SME development in Nigeria. And it's a direct response to the fact that access to capital remains a significant challenge for SMEs in Nigeria. We've also discovered that SMEs are hindered in their efforts to raise private capital for their business growth due to ineffective pitches, whether it's the design and also the delivery. Some small businesses struggle in identifying the unique factors about their business, in making a strong case for investment, and just convincing potential investors about the long-term viability of the businesses. And so we're organizing this training and several other efforts that will come in the following days to address this challenge. Just by way of information, this session is being recorded and also broadcast live on YouTube as well. And our facilitator for today's masterclass is Mr. Brian Orji, who is a communications lead for knowledge for change at the World Bank. So thank you all for joining. We'll start the training now. I believe that subsequently others can stream the training on YouTube in case any part was missed. Mr. Brian Orji, can you confirm? Yeah.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Peter, if you can hear me, just do a thumbs up. Awesome. Thank you so much, and hello everybody. It's great to spend this time with you today. I want to thank the SMEDAN team and the management for organizing this. I think it's a very remarkable initiative, especially when we talk about pitching capital to investors or pitching for investor capital, pitching your business to investors. It is one of the most effective ways of scaling your business. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes just talking about my own experience and some of the things that I believe that you can glean to use in your work. I've got slides. I know I shared it. Um, okay. Check this out. Yeah. All right. Can you see my slides? Now, I know that it's structured in a way that you may not be able to unmute to talk just because we didn't want that, disturbances coming in while we're talking. So I understand that, but thank you for showing that to me. All right. I want to believe that everybody here has a business where we can even begin to talk about investor capital. Every business cannot raise investor capital. A business needs to be a type of business for it to be able to raise investor capital. And I begin by saying that the investor is just as human as you. And a lot of times when we try to raise funds, right, we want to understand the dynamics around how the investor thinks, right? We want to understand around how the investor thinks and how best to get them to do what we want them to do. And I want to spend the next few minutes just explaining to you who is this investor? How do they think? What are they looking for in your business? And how can you build that capability in your business such that within the next few months, you'll be one of those businesses that have been announced as so and so has raised XYZ amount to scale their business. Now, it's important to say that raising capital is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end, but it is indeed a milestone on your way to what it is that you're trying to build. But, let me introduce myself. My name is Brian, as I've been introduced by the SMEDAN team. It is indeed an honor to be here today. But at the same time, I'm very hopeful that the content of this training would impact knowledge in a way that can be applied, right? I like to train in a way that people can go out of the meeting with something that they can go and do. So this is me. I'm the guy with the white shirt. This is a photo of my family. This was my dad's birthday earlier this year, and we went out for a family lunch. So in there you have my mom, my dad, my sister, my friend, her husband, her two kids. And so that's my happy family. As you can see, my niece has a wide smile on her face, and that's a special star right there. And for me, she's my retirement plan. So if I do my best at the World Bank for the next couple of years, whatever she wants to do with her life, I think I'm just going to go and manage her. So that's just a little about me. So for work, I work with the Knowledge for Change program. What the Knowledge for Change program does within the Development Economics Vice Presidency of the World Bank is that we drive donor partnerships. Donor partnerships essentially is we raise funds from donor organizations and donor countries to drive priority themes within the bank, priority knowledge themes within the bank. And our work entails effective pitching and effective reporting. So just think about it that way. So effective pitching and effective reporting. And so a lot of my daily tasks has to do with making a case, right, for the delivery of funds for a purpose. Now, before I had the opportunity to work at the World Bank, I worked in business development for enterprise sales at Amazon Web Services, and I also did the same thing at a lesser known but really huge company called Interos. Interos is supply chain risk management software, which is used by the Ministry of Defense here in the United States, is used by the US Navy to map out supply chain and identify the risk within massive global supply chains. And my job was business development. And essentially, I was pitching this products every day. They are enterprise products, so they were not B2C products. So we're talking to the C-suite. I'm talking to the the senior managing director. I'm talking to the chief marketing manager. I'm talking to the chief technology officer. I'm talking to the head of the supply chain unit of a head of supply chain unit of an organization. For Interos, we're dealing with strictly Fortune 500 organizations. That means that you had to have at least a $3 billion market cap for us to even talk to you. And imagine me having to pitch to all those people who are meeting for the first time, and this is the United States. I'm speaking my Nigerian English, trying to make a point in a way that they can understand, trying to apply the right phonetics, trying to make sure that my tongue is cued in a way that they can understand. I remember getting on the phone to have a conversation, and a lot of people are saying, huh, because they don't get it. But while that is happening, and this is an important point, I realize that the people don't listen for how well you speak. The people listen for the value you have to offer. And that's actually the basis of investing. The people do listen for the value you have to offer. So working on the value that you have to offer is stronger than working on your capability to pitch. I say it again, working on the value that your business has to offer is stronger than working on your ability to pitch. Make no mistakes about it. Smooth talkers rule the world, right? It's important for you to be able to, get in front of a crowd and talk, right? However, when people are putting money behind an idea, the goal is for them to get a return. And that return, people know, because there's so many smooth talkers, you're not going to be the first, right? And people know to look above your ability to smooth talk, the beauty of your pitch deck, the pizzazz that you have going on, and listen for value. So the right mindset in thinking about how to create capital is, do you have an investable business? Do you have a structured business that someone can say there's value in this? Mind you, I'm happy to take questions. So if you have questions, you can note it in the chat, and then I'll open it at some point and read through it. I also run a platform called Inclusive Fund, and what Inclusive Fund does is that we're just trumpeters. We report venture capital investments across the continent of Africa. So I'm hoping that from this training, one of you will be on Inclusive Fund very soon, being announced as somebody who private equity capital is being directed towards you to scale your business. And a lesser known fact is that several years ago, I co-founded SME 100 Africa. And our work at SME 100 Africa was essentially to help businesses do three things very well. We wanted businesses to access markets, access capital, and access finance, right? And so today, I'm hoping that some of the things I've gleaned in my experience in donor partnerships, in my experience selling and pitching to the C-suite for this Fortune 500 big tech companies, as well as my experience helping startups raise capital over the past 10 years, can be valuable to you. All right, so let me get into it proper. Let's begin this way. I divided this lecture into two parts, right? Usually, you can start the conversation from the second part, which is how to pitch your business. When you stand in front of an investor, what do you say? But what I know from sales and from my experience is that it's important for you to know who you are talking to, how the person you're talking to thinks, what they're looking for, and thereby you will be able to provide the value to them in a way they can understand. So the first step to being able to raise capital for your business is understanding who the investor is. In marketing communications, we call that a customer avatar, right? Who is the customer? Who is this person we're trying to sell to? Any person who's trying to pitch something that is completely concerned or obsessed with what they're pitching and not who they're pitching to is likely, is 100%, not even likely, is 100% going to fail. All right. Unless there's an odd case where for some reason people were not considering anything deeply, right? But usually it is more about who you're talking to than what you have to say, what you have to sell, or even how you say it, like I established for you when I was working at Interos and AWS, right? So who is the investor? And what does the investor have for you? The investor has capital. One thing you must understand about capital is that capital flows and kind of like has a life of its own. And the whole world just spectates as capital moves. I don't know if anybody has heard something called price action, maybe in the stock market. Price action essentially is what is capital doing at this time, right? So when capital moves, it affects the way everybody deals with capital. So capital in itself has a life. And yes, there are capital managers, but since there's no one person managing capital, there are different inputs. And so capital itself has a life of its own because of these different inputs. Now, what you want to do when you're pitching your business is that you want some of that capital to flow into your enterprise. You want to use that capital to get new staff. You want to use that capital to do more marketing. You want to use that capital to grow, hopefully. Because there's some people who want to use the capital to eat, to pay school fees, to pay rent. That is not what you should be using your capital for. But if you do what you're supposed to do with your capital, it will produce you the liquidity for you to meet all those needs. So your needs are important, right? Make no mistakes about it. Your needs are important. In fact, your needs are the major driver of the things you're doing today. So your needs are important in the conversation, but they have a place where they stay in the conversation. They're not number one, they're not number two, but they're number three. Number one is the investor who you're talking to, how the person thinks, and how capital is managed. Number two is your business, how your business is structured effectively. And then number three are your needs. If you have this pecking order in your mind, then you're now developing the mindset of somebody who is able to raise capital. Again, I repeat for emphasis, the first level is the investor and his capital, understanding that group. The second level is your business, structuring that effectively. And the third level is your needs, effectively meeting your needs. So let's try and understand capital. Capital has a life of its own. Capital flows. We monitor how capital comes in. I don't know if you ever heard about foreign direct investment into a country. Who is sending it? A bunch of people, right? And so we look at FDI itself, and it has a number because it has a character. We can see what FDI is doing. And based on what FDI is doing, other indicators can be shown, other metrics can be seen. So what is capital and how does it move? Let's understand that very quickly. This man on your screen is Jamie Dimon. He's the CEO of JP Morgan Chase. And this is a quote that he has. He said, capital goes where it is taken care of. Capital goes where it's taken care of. If that's all you know as a business person trying to raise capital, you would go very far in your efforts. All I need to do is to present myself as a person who is capable of taking care of capital. What does it mean to take care of capital? Essentially, what does it mean to take care of something? To take care of something is to give the thing the necessary support, necessary nutrients that it needs to be what it is. That's what it is to take care. So if you want to take care of a chair, right? A chair is to be for people to sit on. So somebody who's taking care of a chair is going to provide the cleaning, is going to dust it, is going to organize it so that the chair can do what it's supposed to do, which is help people sit. All right. If you want to take care of a car, what are you going to do? You're going to clean the car, you're going to service the car, you're going to fuel the car so that the car can do what the car is supposed to do, which is drive you around. The same thing goes for capital. if you want capital, if you want to take care of capital, you must be able to create an environment where capital can do what capital does, which is capital grows. Later in this conversation, you would hear what capital actually contributes to the value creation index. And with that understanding, you'd be at the forefront of people who can use capital for what capital should be used for. So capital goes where it's taken care of. And something happens when labor meets capital. All value creation happens because labor came together with capital. I'll give you a simple example. It's morning here in the United States, but I know it's like afternoon in Nigeria, but this is Saturday morning, and I lived in Nigeria for so many years. I know that one of the most popular Saturday morning meals is akara and pap. All right. Now, the akara woman comes out and she's on the side of the road. You are in your house with your child, or let's switch it around. Maybe you are the child, and you're in the house with your mom, your dad, your guardian, whoever it is there with you. Now, we want to create value. What is the value we want to create? We want everybody to eat. We want to have food on this table, right? Now, the akara woman is out there. We need food on this table. We're going to call somebody, say, Bala, take this 1,000 naira or however much it is, go to the akara woman, buy akara, and come to the house. Now, that money by itself can bring you akara until Bola takes that money, moves to the akara woman, and comes back with akara. Bola in this example is labor. Whoever gives that money is the investor, and that money is capital. So capital is able to create value only when it comes together with labor. Until capital comes together with labor, capital can create much value. Capital can create much value for you. So what does capital always seek out? Capital is always looking for labor because labor amplifies capital. Labor amplifies capital. Capital by itself will be subject to things like inflation that causes depreciation in the assets, right? But when capital mixes with labor, capital can grow. The reason why you're able to get an interest from your savings account is because the money that is gotten from you by the bank is given to people, that's labor, for them to use it for business and provide interest to the bank, and they give you a margin of the interest. If that capital is not given to labor, capital can produce. And this is the nature of capital. So every capital allocator, including your potential investor, is thinking of one thing and one thing alone. What is the labor vehicle that I'm supposed to put my capital in that then makes my capital produce? And if I cannot find an effective labor vehicle, I'll rather hold on to my capital. That's what happens when somebody says, I pitched my business and they didn't fund me. But nothing personal. It's just that the labor that this specific type of capital is looking for is not your business at the time. And there are a lot of vagaries to this conversation, right? Because because it's I mean, you can go on and on with this thing. It's a pretty academic bit, right? There are different kinds of capital. There's patient capital, there's immediate capital, there's high risk capital, there's low risk capital. There's different kinds of capital. And those different kinds of capital are defined as such because of the type of labor they can get with. And one of the capital forms that you're very interested in is venture capital, which we're going to talk about later, which is provided by angel investors and venture capital organizations. And of course, there's accelerators in the mix, but if you think about it, accelerators are a type of venture capital organization because some of them also have GPs and LPs and general partners and limited partners. We'll talk about that in a bit. But it's important for you to know that miracles happen when labor meets capital. And so capital is essentially always looking for labor. My understanding from my experience is that you are not looking for investors. The truth is, investors are looking for you. But the question is, are you you? Are you the vehicle? And how can you be? And of course, some of you are. And that's why this is important. Because now you know that there is no scarcity. Understand this. Money by default is overflowing in the world. In the world. There is no scarcity of resources in the world, right? Some people, I mean, I can't, you see what people spend money on. In the United States, there's a fascination around dogs. And people spend a lot of money on the dogs. And then you do realize that this person can live the whole life without owning this dog or spend a dime on this dog, and they will be fine. But they spend all this money on the dogs because they like it. So there is no lack of capital in the world. There's an overflow of capital in the world, and that is a fact, right? Surely when you work at a platform like where I work, like you're looking at really big figures crossing hands on a daily basis. And you understand that all you need to do is to be the labor that capital is looking for. I'll give you an example of the kind of miracle that happens when labor meets capital, right? This is Peter Thiel. Some of you know him because he's a pretty popular investor, and now he's really strong politically, supporting the Republican government here in the United States. But Peter Thiel has 500,000 US dollars, puts it into a vehicle, a labor vehicle, which at that time was an unknown social network, which has become ubiquitous all around the world, Facebook. And that same money becomes $1 billion. That is the kind of miracle that happens when capital meets labor. It's only labor that can do that to capital. It's only the quality of your business that can do that to capital. And this is what capital is seeking out. Of course, this is a once in a lifetime type of investment. It's not everybody who is investing $500,000 that's looking for $1 billion return. But definitely everybody is looking for some kind of return. But I just wanted to make a point of how capital can grow when it's put in the right labor vehicle. So let's talk about an investor. Everything I'm saying about capital, the investor knows and already thinks it. And so the investor is playing a game. And I want to equip you with knowledge of the game the investor is playing so that you can play the same game and win. And by win, I mean drive revenue, drive capital for your business. So what's the game that the investor is playing? I recently watched, it's an old series, but I recently got to watch Downton Abbey. And of course, like most Downton Abbey faithfuls, I was hooked. I would watch this for a couple of weeks across, I think it's 6 seasons. And it was interesting to me, some of the things I observed. Now, a more popular version of this story is in the Netflix fiction Bridgerton, which also has the theme that I'm talking about. So if you've watched Bridgerton, you can relate as well. But in Downton Abbey, I noticed that the lords, those are the people, the lord of the house, like in this case, the guy in the middle, his name is George, right? The lords don't work. They manage an estate. And so George got into trouble at some point in the course of the series where he had invested in railway stocks. So he invested the Downton Abbey fortune in railway stocks, and it plummeted, right? The railway stocks didn't do well, and so the fortune, the treasury was in trouble. It was in shambles. Then a young man who was supposed to inherit the estate, his name is Matthew, somehow through the story went, got some extra investment from another person who bequeathed some wealth to him. And then the estate decided to invest in farmlands, right? the asset invests in farmlands and grows and becomes better, and then they begin to manage the farmlands, and or they invest more in their farmlands because they already had farmlands, and then they go into animal husbandry, specifically a piggery. So this is what's happening here. You own an estate, which is essentially, think about it this way: you own a bunch of assets, or you own resources or assets, and you're looking for the best investments. You're looking for the best investments for you to direct your liquid assets to, such that it can produce a return. Now, what is interesting about this is it's still happening today. This is the life of people who have millions and millions of dollars, millions and millions of naira, wherever they are in the world, that are trying to put their investment in a vehicle for it to grow. Now, for your, okay. Now, for your business, your job is the same. And I think I'm saying it just so that it can go through strongly, that your job is to ensure that you are the kind of vehicle that can help the business grow, because it's really serious business. Capital is only as good as the bets you make on it. So it's serious business. So I can lose millions of dollars of my fortune if I put my money in the wrong vehicle. It's serious business, right? Tony Elumelu has the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which is incredible. And what they do is something called impact investing, right? And they give grants to businesses. Now, if we're having a conversation about grants, we're having a conversation about the impact, maybe on the economy of a business that is being invested in, and not its ability to give returns. But today's conversation is centered around the ability to give returns. Now, while grants are ubiquitous in the world, I don't think anybody is going to give you a $2 million grant to create a factory in Maiduguri that is going to just provide an impact. I think the bigger the money, the more people want to see returns. So we're having a conversation around how that the vehicle, the engine, must work so that it can provide the return for capital, because capital can be lost. Capital can waste. And that's serious business. So, and it's important for you to know that there's so many options for capital in the world today, right? Your business is not the only place capital can be, right? So understand there is a very wide array of options. Like I told you, there are different kinds of capital looking for different kinds of vehicles. And capital is looking for return. Let me give you an example. This is the Vanguard Index Fund, right? The Vanguard Index Fund returned 23%, has returned 23% year to date. That means till the time I did this, which was 8:06 a.m. on Thursday. Yeah, 23% year to date. It did 38.18% between 2003 and 2024. So that means if I put my money and I just bought this Vanguard Index Fund and did nothing, I didn't get on a call with any investor, I didn't ask you where you are, what are you doing with my money, why didn't I see your report last week? I didn't ask any question. I didn't do anything. I'm gonna get 32+% on my investment. There are investment vehicles available. So when you're thinking about your business, you're thinking about the competitive landscape that the investor has to deal with and has to consider before they put money into your business. But here's the thing, here is where venture capital comes from. Because there's so many asset classes. Like I said, this is an index fund. Your business is, small business, right? it's an asset class. The stock market itself, buying the stocks, maybe buy Apple and buy Disney and buy all the stocks. That's an asset class in itself, right? So there are different asset classes. Bitcoin, crypto, those are asset classes. There are different asset classes that you can put money into, including your business. Now, it, the competitive landscape for dollars is being influenced as these things move, right? And so you can have an idea of how much money, how more like you can have an idea of how excellent your business needs to be to effectively compete within this capital destination landscape, right? And as such, everybody cannot just take their money and put it in somewhere because you have to understand an asset class because different asset class move in different ways. For example, something's going to happen to the stock market if a type of president is elected in the United States. Something's going to happen to the stock market in Nigeria if a type of president is elected in Nigeria. If that happens in Nigeria, it's going to affect what's happening in Ghana. It's going to affect what's happening across the African continent. So at different times, different asset classes are going to react not only to market forces, but also to geopolitics and other things, right? And so usually an asset manager or capital manager, capital allocator is one who is vast in an asset class. And because everybody cannot be vast in asset class because people have their jobs and people have other things they're doing and people want to spend time with their family, people find these people who it is their job to mind the markets and they give them money. And those people are usually called venture capitalists. Now, a venture capitalist is holding money not just of their not of their own, not just of their own, but also of many people who are also thinking about these other places where they could have put their money in to get a return. I just wanted you to know it's serious business when somebody wants to give you money. It's serious business for them. They're taking a bet on you, right? And it's important for that to be a good bet. In the venture capital world, there's what they call the GPs and the LPs. And for this description, the GP, that's the general partner, is the one who, let's say, everyone gives the money, all right? All the people who put the money into that bucket they're called LPs, limited partners. The GP does capital allocation. They look for businesses like yours to put money in. Now, how is this GP thinking right now? He's thinking that I have to give money back to John, Matthew, Shegun, Yakubu, Obi. I have to give money back to all these people, right? I have to look for a vehicle that can give money back to me and give money back to all these people. Now, there's an name. So which is the goal? And so for your business to be investable, it's important that you are able to turn a profit at a margin that's enough for you to keep some of the profit, give some of the profit to the GP. The GP gives some of the profit to the LP, and everybody is happy over a long period of time, say 7 to 10 years. And there's a lot of unit economics and a lot of mathematics to work there. And I wouldn't be going into that because we just have a few minutes, right? But how do you structure your business such that you can by mathematical calculations you can ascertain if there's space, right? Because some people, if they meet their needs, there's no more money. If you meet your needs with your business, there's just no more money to give anybody else. That business is just for you and you alone. It's called a sole proprietorship. It's just you, and the business gives you money. You pay your rent, you fill your car, you eat your food, and it does it again and again and again. There's no space for an investor to be in the conversation. But if your business can fill your car, pay your rent, give you food, give you one or two nice things like a vacation or whatever it is that you've always wanted to get, and then have some other money that can be given back to an investor. And that investor can return that money to a bunch of other, what we call LPs. Then you're in the conversation. So you're thinking about growth, you're thinking about scale, you're thinking about the width of scale, and not just if I get the money now, I can be okay. So raising investment is not for who is trying to be okay. Raising investment is for the person who is okay and trying to be better. Now, it's important to note that I by that do not say that new ideas that have not even started or new ideas that are still in their infancy cannot raise capital. But notice my argument is around the mathematics of your business, right? Your business can be for 25 years, and the mathematics of your business cannot accommodate an investor. Your business can be an idea yet to start, but by the time the mathematics are calculated, it definitely can accommodate a bunch of investors, right? So the it's important to think about it that way. So the venture capitalist is looking for a certain kind of business that can provide it what is called outsized returns. You saw the outlandish example of Peter Thiel. Yes, it doesn't happen all the time, but something of that sort, something close, should happen and does happen. And so the investor is looking for you. Um, one of the things I recently got married, so congratulations to me, yay. Um, but of course, before you get married, you do a bunch of dating. And one of the things that's really got my attention about dating that I thought was very instrumental and kind of centered my knowledge in investment over the past 10 years plus is how the dating game actually works. You do realize, I don't know if you can see this photo. This lady, this is a stock photo. I don't know these people. I got this from a site called pexels.com. But it's a great photo to illustrate what I want to say. So this lady is looking at this guy. It's like, I hope you're the one. The guy is looking at the lady and trust me, I won't fail you. I think that's what I see from his eyes, right? If we were in a live class, I would have asked you what you see, right? Maybe a little bit more interactive. But like I said at the beginning, I understand why it was needed to mute the microphones so that we don't get to have somebody, interrupting the conversation. But yeah, in dating, a young guy in the market, as a young guy, you don't know who you're looking for. You know what you're looking for, right? And sometimes when you see what you're looking for, it may not even come in the package of who you thought it would come with. But the person has the things you're looking for. And it could be anything, right? It could be that the person has some trappings of success that society would recognize, like a nice car or an expensive wristwatch, or the way the person dresses. It could be that the person has a kind smile, a kind heart. It could be the person is a problem solver. The person can think on his or her feet. It could be anything that you put value on, right? And so you're out there in the market, right? Being a type of person, hoping that the person who is looking for you will find you. However, like dating, if you're in your house, they're not going to see you. I'm sure that you've seen all those interesting meme videos or what they are of people who are in their house. And it's like, I'm in my house. However age they use, and saying that I have to move from my house because I know that my man or my woman is not going to come and meet me here. They're not going to come and meet you in your house. Now, you could be everything that they want. You could be everything that like multitudes of young men are looking for. And mind you, like there's a lot of young men looking for like what a lot of young women are and vice versa, right? There could be so many people looking for someone like you. But if you don't have a way of putting yourself out there, it just wouldn't come, right? So it takes a conversation to the next part of it, which is putting yourself out there. So some people are getting on dating apps, right? They're getting on social media, going into DM, say hi. Oh, that was a nice dress. Some other people are going to events every time. And when they go for events, they put a smile on their face because you're not going to squeeze your face and think, well, I want to look like the most annoying person and I want people to walk up to me. That just doesn't work. You have to put a smile on your face. Some people are going to churches, mosques, religious, they're going to all these places trying to meet people. Some people are going for conferences. Right? There's even a conference group, all these finance conferences. All these people. There are people who are going there after the conference. Let's talk about life. And it's okay. But here's what needs to be considered. The two of you are looking for something. And in this case, the business and the investor are looking for something. Maybe in another class, I'll have an opportunity to talk about the types of investors, type of venture capital investor, because we had a broader look at capital, right? And now we're singled into venture capital. Knowing full well that if you're raising capital for your business, there's only two people you're talking to. You're talking to either a venture capitalist or an angel investor. And like I said, an accelerator is in the mix, but an accelerator is the type of venture capital. The angel investor are the guys who don't give their money to anybody to invest for them. Just to talk about those guys very, very quickly. They don't give their money to anybody to invest for them. They are the ones who make the calls by themselves. They also study the market. They're capital allocators. They make 1 or 2 deals a year or less, right? They'd rather not make a deal, but if they're going to make one because it's their money that they're putting there, right? They don't have a career of it, but they have the resources. So those guys also give money. Angel investors are not a smaller type of venture capitalists. Like angel investors also demand the kind of returns that venture capitalists, capital ones. I dare say maybe they don't even want to pay the fees because you pay something called carry to the GP if you're giving your money to venture capitalists. But yeah, so you're looking for a type of angel investor or a type of venture capitalist. And for the purpose of our conversation, let's just call both of them investors. So we don't have to say this and this, right? There are different types of investors. There's some investors that you shouldn't touch. There's some investors that you shouldn't touch with a certain kind of deal. There's some investors that you should ask for a loan, pay back that loan, and keep it moving, than for you to have this lifelong commitment, because it's a lifelong commitment, right? If somebody gets a percentage of your company, it's a lifelong commitment, right? Until they either sell their shares or you sell yours, right? So there are different types of investors and different things to look out for. So you as a business person, you're also looking out for a type. You're also looking out for your type. The same way these two people who are trying to date, one's looking for a type. But now let's say you know what your type is. You know who you're looking for. You have to be able to creatively put yourself out there. And so I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about how to pitch your business, how to put yourself out there. In our world today, we're talking here over Zoom. The way I'm talking into this camera right now is the same way you're going to do most of your pitches, right? If you're doing it well. Because you're going to be pitching to people in Mexico, in Yugoslavia, in Ghana, in Abuja, in Lagos, in Maiduguri, somebody in Kaduna, so Anambra. You may not physically go to all those places, all right? You're going to be pitching just the same way I'm walking through slides, having a conversation with you, and just talking. And I'm going to bring out some lessons from even the way I'm presenting right now that could help you. Let's talk about pitching your business. When you want to pitch your business, I take it that you first of all have a pitchable business, right? Remember what I said the pecking order is. The pecking order is the investor and the nature of capital. The second is your business, right? And then the third is your needs. But in this pitching your business arena, I take it that you have structured the business in a way that somebody can understand what the journey is. How much do you make in January? When do you make more money? Why do you make money? There's some businesses that thrive because of the rainy season. Some businesses thrive because there's more foreign direct investment at the time. So business chart for different reasons. So business chart just because we have a large population, right? And the more the spending power of the population grows, the more that business is going to grow. So you have your case, and we're going to talk about what that case is and how to make that case when you're pitching your business. Now, there are different ways to pitch a business. There's no one way. And I'm going to give you a list, a simple list, which is this list, right? Now, this is not an exhaustive list. Neither is it a hard and fast list where you have to list your business. You have to list your slides in this way. You would use a certain combination of these slides to communicate your business. So you don't have to use the only two that must remain, which interestingly, I just realized that the sixth one is not here, but I'll talk about it, is the first slide. And the last one is your ask, right? The first one, what you do must be first. And the last one is your ask. All these other 1, 2, 3, 4, that is traction, team, unique insights, and market size, you can mix and match, you can move them based on which one you are stronger at. Okay, now let me wear my pitching hat and explain to you some of the things I've learned from pitching. Incidentally, I've had the opportunity to sit across different people pitch their businesses as an investor trying to invest, or as an asset manager trying to invest on behalf of an investor. And one of the things I observe is that people don't know how to say what they do. What do you do? Now, this is one of those things that you only get good at if you practice it. What do you do? I have a snail farm in Makurdi. I make tiger nut milk in Jos. What do you do? Now, a lot of people begin by saying, we are Brian Oji Company. And that's good that you are what you are. But I think the most important thing is for the investors to know what you do. If the investor doesn't know what you do when you're pitching, the pitching doesn't start. I don't know if you ever watched, I saw there was a pitch competition during the MSME conference. And if you watch some of those videos, you would see that 2-3 minutes into the person's presentation, you're wondering, oh, what did they do again? Like what do they do? And how do you explain it in a way that it's clear? Because if somebody doesn't know what you do, you've lost them, even though they're sitting down and looking at you. Now, mind you, when you ask for an investor meeting, the investor decides to give you 30 minutes of their time, 15 minutes of their time. They don't give you all 15 minutes of their time just like that. You have to earn every minute. So imagine if the first 2 minutes I'm listening to you, if you retain my attention, I give you another 2. Retain my attention, I give you another 2. Retain my attention, I give you another 2. And there could be a point in time when you lose my attention and I pick up my phone and I'm looking at my phone, or my mind is not there anymore, and you're just talking because you've lost me. And a lot of people lose the investor just at the beginning of the pitch because it's not clear, what do you do? And crafting out a what you do message is a practical exercise that we can all undertake. I'm curious to see how we can do an exercise even on this platform. But I guess Shina Co would advise after this, right? But what do you do? And you ask another person, do you understand what I do? And ask people, do you understand what I do? Is it clear what I do? A lot of people try to put buzzwords in this, like, oh, remember how you talk to your customer It's not the same way you talk to your investor. Your customer is trying to get a service. Your investor is trying to get a return. Now, they're not looking for the same thing, so they can't respond to the same communication. The next slide is traction. Traction is anything you have done that improves your credibility. You could have launched an app and maybe the app has not generated any revenue, right? Of course, the best traction slide is revenue, right? We've generated XYZ amount of dollars, and if you give it to us, we're going to improve our inputs by this number and generate this amount of dollars. Great, but sometimes you don't have revenue, or sometimes you don't have good enough revenue, but you have downloads. You have you have a mailing list that you've developed by people who have indicated their interest in what you have to do. That's traction. Now, there's also traction that is not really useful traction, which could be like you have 100. Imagine you want to start a business and say, oh, right now we have 1 million followers on Instagram. That's a great feat, no doubt. But if you've not started the business and you're not a celebrity, how do you get 1 million people to follow you? The investors, the maths doesn't work at that time. It just means it kind of and it may not be, but it just kind of shows as though you bought those followers, right? So there's traction that's useful and traction that is useless. And then there's your team. Who is on your team and why? Do you have a team? So I think about it. Imagine you run an online news platform. What is the team that you need, right? You need a webmaster who uploads the stories. You need a bunch of writers who write the stories. Your writers could also be your researchers, right? And you need a marketing manager who is going to drive your search engine your SEO, search engine optimization, who is going to drive your presence on social media, right? And and then maybe you have an editor who decides the story direction, someone in charge of partnerships who drives advertisement revenue. And those are the offices that you need. Now, when you want to talk about your team, and I'm listening to you, and I have a mental picture of what you may need based on what you tell me, and then I hear that you want to drive revenue over the next 4 years, but you don't have somebody who is driving partnerships for your business. And you haven't even said that whoever it is that is the founder, the CEO, is also doing that. I question your team. So questions come up in the mind of the investor who you're pitching to, because the team that you're describing doesn't look to me like you've thought through the functions that are necessary to drive that profit. Now, on to the next one, unique insights. There's got to be something that you know about your business. Now, mind you, you don't have to have a unique insight, right? But especially when you're dealing with technology, right? If you're a technology entrepreneur here, you might need a unique insight just because of that's how technology scales. Technology scales when somebody brings some kind of unique insight that we hadn't yet seen before to an old thing. Let's take Airbnb, for example. At some point, a lot of people were doing booking services, right? You can book. I don't know if anybody knows the platform called Craigslist, right? You can book, and then two of you will meet, and then you exchange the product, and then you exchange money at that point in time. And a lot of people are doing booking services where you can do third-party booking to book somebody's room or something, but then you exchange money when you arrive. Now, of course, in a low trust environment, that presents its own set of challenges. So what Airbnb brought is, yes, this is happening. However, we're going to add payment processing to this so that we can take away this hassle of low trust, both on the person who is renting the space and the person who is renting the space. Now that solves a problem, but that's a unique insight to say, oh, all these things exist, but if we add this to this, we are unique. And that's an important part of your pitch. And the next one there is market size. When it comes to market size, a lot of people begin their pitches with uh something that is not a market size. You're quoting a number that you probably saw in a report. But what is important to an investor when you talk about market size? It's not the number. It is how you calculated to the number, right? So if you're selling something that is a female hygiene product, right? And you have a population of, as an example, 70,000 people in a place. Now, of those 70,000 people, some are men, some are women, some are children, you know, it goes on. And you tell me that you want to sell this in this, let's create a Jumbo Land, a fictitious place. I want to sell this female hygiene product in Jumbo Land, and it is the reason why is the market size is 70,000 people are in Jumbo Land. And so based on that premise, you make your argument. That's a flawed argument, because we need to know what the percentage of people in Jumbo Land are women, so that let's know the actual people who can use your product. And what type of product is it? Is it a product that needs education? So do we need literacy levels to be at a level for us to be able to consider those people part of the market? Or is it a product that anybody can buy, right? Is it a product that there will be some kind of class discrimination by who uses and who doesn't use it? And so you begin to delineate your actual market size by doing some mathematics around the actual people who you're trying to target and how you want to go about it. So that's for market size. And the last one is your ask, right? It's important for you to ask for the money. It's interesting how many people come to pitch their businesses and they don't ask for the money, right? They talk about their businesses and they wait for feedback on their business, as if we're here to analyze your business. We're not here to analyze your business. We're here to see how much we can make and what the return is. But key to the conversation around your ask is your figure and your valuation, right? Valuation is mathematically ascertained, right? And we can have another conversation about how to describe, how to define your company valuation. But you have your ask. So I'm asking for $4 million to do so and so over the next couple of years. Key to your ask is clarity around your milestone. Because if you haven't created milestones along your way, and this is something that you sit down to craft, okay, this is where I am today. This is where I want to be in the next 2 years. This is where I want to be in the next 4 years. This is where I want to be in the next 6 years. For me to move from point A to point B, I need this kind of capital injection so I can get here and get this return that's going to help me move from point B to point C. So being able to craft out milestones in your journey is important for you to be able to ask. Now, one could say, well, I don't know the future. How am I going to craft out milestones? The truth of the matter is that nothing is new under the sun. Whatever business you're doing, somebody else somewhere in the world has done it and they've done it successfully. Just copy that. Just copy what they've done. Look at what milestones they created for themselves. And maybe you can even surpass it, right? But it's important that you not only have this clarity around milestones for you to ask, or else you're just asking me, I need money, $250,000. I need money, $4 million to grow my business. There's nothing like grow your business. Grow your business to what? Grow your business, why? Why is it at this moment? Why is there something important at this time that is necessary for your business to grow? Why? Where do you want to take the business to? And that's going to be your ask. All right. I'm going to, how do I do this now? I want to pause and look in the chat. I really can't see the chat. Can Tommy or Shino help me? Let's see if this. Awesome. Okay, found my way. Okay. Okay. But I see a bunch of comments. Okay, someone says, guide us on how to raise, Mohammed Nasir says, guide us on how to raise um, funds for a startup yet to launch because of finance. Um, if you listen at the beginning of the class, if you listen at the beginning of the class, I said to you that capital is ubiquitous. There's so much money in the world, right? What capital is looking for is the kind of labor that it can invest in and drive, right? Um, so whether your startup is yet to launch, if your startup is investable, even at the idea stage, the mathematics of your business works. And I said to you that when you're raising money from an investor, you should be able to get a return that is going to meet your personal needs and return value to your investor. And in the case of venture capital, return value not just to the GP, but to the LPs as well. All right. So it's the same process, even if your business is yet to launch. However, it's important that you understand that the risk profile of a business that is yet to launch is higher. As such, the key focus is on the team and the ability of the team to execute a plan effectively and how much confidence I get from this team I'm looking at in the ability to execute. So if you're yet to launch, I think the case to make to an investor is not so much around your business and your idea, which is important, but more around your team, your drive, your passion. Why should I invest in you? Because at this point in time, I'm taking a bet, yes, on your business, but it's a much bigger bet on you as a person, right? Um, Now, some other people are in a situation whereby they need money to start their business. And most businesses are that way in the world. Make the mistake about it. If you want to start, what's that, the manufacturing companies, that you just can't bring out all the money from your purse and spend the money. You need to collect money from somewhere, right? To start it. But you can explore other sources of capital even before you begin to talk to investors. It depends on the level of your business, right? So we have all the things like family and friends. We have crowdfunding, all those ideas, right? We have your own savings that you can use, right, to start your business. Uh, but then by the time you begin talking about investors, it means that you have a business that is big enough to accommodate big enough to accommodate the fresh capital, the capital that the investor puts in, and the money that you need to meet your needs. All right. Great. Ukweze Ngozika. Hello. And she's saying, we are learning, but my question is, how do we identify our investor? You know what's interesting about the social media age is that people, um, people, people are there for you to find them. Because people are online looking for something called deal flow. Investors are online looking for deal flow, which is they're looking for the best businesses to fund. And you are also on the same platform. I think one of the best ways to find your investors, just two ways basically, is the cold outreach and the warm outreach, right? The cold outreach, it works. I've raised some money from cold outreaches. And like I said to you, when I was doing sales for AWS and Interos, I all this the average deal size for Interos was 3 million US dollars. And it all began with a conversation on a cold outreach. That means you picked up the phone and called somebody that you've never spoken to before. And you started a conversation and were able to convince them to take the next minute, and then the next minute, and then the next minute. So cold outreaches work. And for you to find that investor, it's about going on LinkedIn, Used to be active on X or Twitter, not so much these days, but it's going on these platforms and searching investor and see the names it brings up. That's going to bring up a lot of people that people write about investor, people who are investors, but within that group, you see an investor. In fact, um, on the Inclusive Fund website, that is www.inclusivefund website, the news portal I run, there is the Investors in Africa directory, the Africa Investors directory, is there, and it's a directory of investors that are invested in Africa. It's one of the books that is in the venture part of the news platform. But you have a list of investors in different sectors skewed towards technology and related sectors that are invested in Africa. So you can find directories like that also of where these investors are. Then the warm outreach. The warm outreach is go on go on go on go on sites like Inclusive Fund, Tech Tech Points, right? And look for people who just recently raised money and send those guys an email and say, hi, I've been following your business. It's very great. Can I have a meeting? Can I have a 5-minute chat? I'm also a startup in this same sector as well. Can I have a 5-minute chat? You have a 5-minute chat with the person could, you could have an impression of the person could introduce you to who invested in them. That's also a way to go. Now, mind you, I didn't say you should send them an email saying, hi, I want you to introduce me to your investors. People are not likely to respond to that kind of email, right? You have to be, measured from one step to another. Warm outreach in the way you engage people when you're asking for something. And remember, you are asking for something. Nobody owes you anything, and they are not obligated to respond to you in the way that you want them to respond to you. All they can do is to decide by themselves if they want to help or not. And in this journey of fundraising, you have to be very ready, because a lot of times people may not want to help, and that's okay. That's very okay, right? But then there's these persons who would help, and that help will be transformational, right? So we have, how can I build strategic partnerships that, oh my, how can I build strategic partnerships that feel strategic partnership and collaborations to fuel growth? My second question. Okay, now to build strategic partnerships that fuel growth is two ways, right? The first way is you need to be somebody who people want to partner with, right? You have something going. Yeah, you have something going, right? Your partnership is not parasitic, right? You have something that people want to gain from, whether they want to gain from association with you or they want to gain some kind of return by being with you. You have something that people want to gain from. The second is radical outreach. There's a slide that I didn't get to, but I want to show it now. And yeah, let me show it now. And it's on this slide. I quote Nigerian music sensation Burna Boy, international artists, who is these musicians are like the poets of our time, right? And if Burna Boy says Dangote still dey find money, or still dey chase money, who I be? Radical outreach. I tell you that nothing is going to change your business more than radical outreach. And I didn't say just outreach, radical outreach. Nothing's going to change your life more than radical outreach. Thank you very much for that question, because it gives me an opportunity to say this. Every day, my team made over 7,000 phone calls to try to sell a $3 million product every day. Now, of all the 7,000 phone calls, not everybody, 7,000 dials, not everybody picked up. So we didn't have connection with everybody. We had connection with about a tenth of that number, right? So in every 10, one's going to pick up, right? But those are 700 conversations every day. Radical outreach, fearless radical outreach is important for your success and your business. When I was younger, in my church, we used to have something called radical evangelism. And in radical evangelism, you talk to everybody you can find on the street because you want to share with them the good news. I find that that's a skill that you need in business. Talk to as many people as you can talk to about your business. And you have to allow rejection to fall off your shoulder and keep moving. And that's how you create those partnerships, right? That's how you create those partnerships. Radical outreach. And these are emails. These are phone calls. These are events. If there's a SMEDAN event of sorts in your area, you go to that event. You need one person. A lot of times, you need one person to give you what you want, not two. One person. One person to put you into the level that you want to get to. But you don't know who that person is. You don't know where that person is. So you would send emails. You will follow up on the emails. You will try to make phone calls. You will go for events and have conversations. Every time there's a pitch competition, you would register. If there's time for you to pitch your business, you will pitch your business. If they ask a question, you'll be the first to raise up your hand. Radical outreach is going to be the main driver for partnerships and collaborations. So two sides. First, I have something worth something. Second, a radical outreach. If some people looking for a job, say I sent my resume out. Really, to how many people? I sent to like 7 places. 7? Make it 70. The same for people trying to raise capital. I've been talking, because, in my job, my position, people come to me and lament the capital seeking wars. Oh, I want to raise capital. Yeah, how many people I've spoken to, I've spoken to 4 investors this month, and 4 of them said no. 4 is such a small number. So that's how you do that. All right. What's made a big difference between a pitch presentation and a business plan presentation? Usually the pitch presentation is centered around when you want to pitch your business to an investor, it's centered around your audience, right? Your audience is a business person. So you're talking about things like the kind of return that you expect that they will get, your passion and what motivated you to do the business, things that investors are interested in, right? Your passion. Why are you doing this at this time? What's happening in the world at this time that makes this necessary, right? That's what a pitch is. Usually skewed towards the interest of the investor that way. In terms of the business plan, you're looking at numbers and analysis of how your business will work. So within your pitch to your investor, there is a segment where you do talk about your business, right? How it returns money, which is what I brushed on when I talked about the ask, right? What your milestones are, where you're moving from point A to point B. But in a business plan presentation, right, we want to see how you are thinking about your business. And that's the goal of the audience. How are you thinking through your business? How your operations work together to drive the profit that you want to drive? However, in a business pitch for investor, not only are we seeing how you think through your business, we're seeing the scale of your business and how much you're going to take care of the investor capital when it comes to you, right? And they could be conflated. Sometimes I've seen people conflate it. People just talk a business pitch competition. But here's one thing. If you're going to have somebody decide at the end of your business if they're going to put money in it or not, right? then you're having an investor pitch. If you're going to have somebody question you and analyze your thinking about your presentation and how you have organized your business, then you're having a business plan presentation. Okay. My question is, if a company, Coco, hi. My question is, if a company has two arms in operation in different sectors under it and needs one to invest in one arm of the business, how should the pitch introduction be like? Example, fish farming and a bakery are the two arms of operation under a single company name. Would appreciate the response. I got you. Now, let's take an Apple product, for example. Apple has phones, Apple has the iPad, Apple has the watch. They try to do Apple Car, you know. So they have different arms of their business, right? And it's under one Apple. A better example is even Tesla, right? They just launched a rocket that went to Mars and came back. I don't know if people saw it, the one that was caught on his way down. Beautiful. SpaceX is not a public company, it's under the Tesla brand, right? And so they have cars and they have this SpaceX. And when you want to pitch the business, how do you pitch that there are two different entities within the business and you want to drive the money to one side of the business? I said all that to say that it happens all the time and it's not unique at all for you to have two sides to your business, right? Or several channels within one organization and you want to drive the money to one. So I think that if you want to talk about that business, you introduce your pitch by talking about your whole business and why you have these several arms. There has to be some logic around why you have a fish farm and a bakery. And whatever that is, you tell us, right? So my name is this, my company, we started as a bakery. And then we saw an opportunity with fish farms. We did fish farm as well. And that's fine, right? And then if you want to move the money into the fish farm, which is the focus of your pitch, you're going to now focus on the fish farm and tell us about what the fish farm does in terms of numbers, how you plan to grow in terms of your milestones, which I've talked about. And then that's where the investor money is going to be targeted at. So things like your ask will be tailored to the fish farm. But when you talk about your team, all right, your team is for the whole company, right? If you have a marketing manager who is in charge of the two of them, that's it. If you're the individual sole proprietor that is running the two of them, it's also important for you to begin to think about the intricacies of that situation for an investor. I'm thinking, if you have a bakery and a fish farm, how much attention is needed and how much attention do you have to give in terms of intellectual resources to these two endeavors, right? So I'm thinking about that. And so you should be able to answer that. So my answer to you is talk about it. It's not unique at all. A lot of people have different units within their businesses that do different things, right? Wherever you want to channel the funds to should be where you make your case. But depending on the size of your team, think about the questions that's going to be in the heart of the person who is listening to you and try to answer those questions in your pitch. I give an example right now. If you're one person and you have a bakery and you have a fish farm, I know it takes a lot of effort to run a fish farm, as well as it takes a lot of effort to run a bakery. How are you dividing yourself? Your answer simple is, if you're asking how I'm dividing myself, my brother, my sister, my friend, my employee, so helps me manage at this level, and you answer those questions, right? So that's how I think you can go about that. Then we have Akuvda Abdul Wahab. So what inspired the founder of this startup and what is your long-term vision for it? What startup are you referring to? Just let me know. Okay. So we have we've gotten to the point where I wanted us to begin to practice. But so here's your take-home assignment. Here's something that you can go do for yourself. Go and create what is called a story, a pitch story. A pitch story essentially is you trying your best to answer some of these things that we've listed here, what you do clearly, traction clearly, your team clearly, unique insights you have about the market at this time clearly, the market size and how you arrived at it. Remember, I said the number that you quote, Nigeria has 200 million people. That's not a market. Because if you, okay, imagine you have a fish farm. Everybody eats fish, yes. Oh, well, most people eat fish. Yes, fine, right? Everybody eats, right? Because everybody eats. That means I can service the whole Nigeria. Or that you can't, because you need a transportation system in place for you to move your fish to consumers that are in faraway places from you. And if you cannot describe how you have that transportation infrastructure in place, then you cannot say your market size is that big. Do you understand? So it's about the thinking, right? So when you're pitching your business, you are thinking. It's a thinking game more than it's a talking game. Like I established to you earlier in this training, I found it difficult to pitch AWS or Interos at the beginning of my engagements with the customers in those brands. But I realized that people listen not because of how my accent is or the fluency of how I'm talking, but because of the value that I'm able to communicate and the fact that I'm able to answer the questions in the head of the person who's listening to me while I'm talking. So understanding, like my first slide said, the investor is just as human as you, right? They can, if you are talking in a way that I can't find the logic around this thing, you're gonna lose them. But that's why having clear logic around what you're saying is very important to be able to hold, not only hold the attention, but get your goals. All right. I think with this, I'm gonna pause and okay. All right. We have some, okay, let me answer these questions. Please, okay, we've got 2 more minutes for questions to come in. Put in your questions in the next 2 more minutes, it'll be great. Okay? If not, maybe next time. All right. So Favor says, you said something of teaching us something about the way you presented this teaching. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for reminding me. Thank you very much, Favor. I appreciate that. Okay, so here. This is something that I find a lot of times when investors, when entrepreneurs try to pitch, right? My slides are right in front of me, thankfully, because my computer is in front of me and I am talking on Zoom. But if you're talking to an audience, your slides are behind you. Maybe there's a monitor in front of you, but you have, like I can be looking at my computer now and I don't have the burden of trying to make eye contact with my audience, which is important when I'm pitching. And so a lot of times when people pitch, they create slides that they can read, but never create readable slides. Wait, hold on before you say what? Now, your slides are supposed to be supporting what you're saying while people pay attention to what you're saying and not necessarily read the content of the slides. Now, I had a number of things to say in understanding capital, but I didn't put them on the slide because if I put them on the slide, you're going to take time reading my slide. And in that time, you're not listening to me, right? So I have my notes of the things I want to say under understanding capital. Or because I've done this several times, I know the things I want to say under understanding capital, but I don't put them on the slide. Sometimes the slide is the major distraction to the quality of your pitch. And so people are not able to hear you because of the things you put on the slides. So we talk about how that your slides should be funny, engaging. All that depends on the audience, right? I like simple slides, kind of like the ones that I had here, right? simple slides that just help us know what we're talking about so that you can read it at a glance and look up and keep listening to me as I speak, right? My slides themselves alone cannot tell a story. The storyteller is me. So when you're creating your slides, ensure that you're not putting on it every single thing that you want to say because it's going to bog it down. And you're going to be tempted to be reading from your slides. You're going to try to read from your slide, which is the number one way to lose anybody. It's interesting how intelligent people are all around the world. It's fascinating. And there are people who can talk straight for 90 minutes and not look at any sheet of paper. In fact, talking to you today, I have my notes beside me on my iPad, but my iPad, the monitor is off, right? So I didn't even need to refer to the notes, right? To talk. And I didn't need to read from the slides. And these are the same kind of people that you're going to be pitching your business with, right? So build these competencies, right? To be able to build these competencies to be able to pitch or talk with your slide supporting what you're saying as against your slide being what you're saying. I hope that was clear. And then the slides are not distracting. You listen to me, but the slides are supporting and not distracting. Pretty important. Thank you very much, Phil, for reminding me. What if you're asked which of the area of business you intend to channel the funds? Is this a conversation around fish farming, or is this a new conversation? Can you help me on how to design a compelling pitch deck for grant making? Great. A compelling pitch deck. So it's almost as if there's no such thing as a compelling pitch deck, right? You can have a compelling pitch, but your pitch deck is supposed to, so two things, so two types of pitch decks. There is the pitch deck that you can pitch, which supports your presentation. And that one just needs what do you call it? Graphic elements that support your argument. There is a pitch that you send to somebody to read about your business. And essentially what that is that you can see the notes I said that I had somewhere else. You put those notes inside the pitch deck and send it to somebody. You're not pitching that one. You're going to send it to somebody. So think about those two things. So it depends on the audience, right? Sometimes you have to have a pitch where if people start reading the content of your text, going to distract them. Another one is they have to see your pitch deck. In fact, I would advocate that you should be able to send a 2-pager about your business to somebody to read, right? Instead of a pitch. A 2-pager where you write about your business, you put it section by section, explain what you do, explain your market size, explain your team, explain your unique insights and your ask in a 2-pager so that people can read it. Right? Sometimes it's confusing when people spend all the time going to a graphic designer. It's very expensive. You want to make a compelling pitch deck. Not even in the world today when you can use AI to design your pitch deck in Canva, right? Or some of those things, or even in Microsoft PowerPoint, right? You can put all your content and say, do something. It's going to do something that is going to be fair enough for you to open a conversation, right? Mind you, while design is an important part of communication, the design level needed to get the attention of an investor is not the same design level needed to win an art competition or a design competition or pitch design competition, right? Usually it's the clarity around your pitch deck that is way more important than the way you're able to design the pizzazz around the structuring of the slides, etc. All right. Okay. So someone asked for some copies of the slides. Yes, you can get it from SMEDAN. What if you're asked what area of business you intend to channel the funds, just like the fish farm and bakery? I don't think you should wait to be asked what area you want to channel the funds, Chine. I think that you should say what area you're supposed to channel the fund in your pitch, right? If I have to ask you what area you have to channel the fund, then there's a problem in that whole presentation, right? You should say what area you want to channel the funds already. And I'm going to channel the funds in this place. Then you make a case for that. Listen, every business unit is a business unit within your business, right? It has input, it has what is the process or the throughput, and it has the output. And if you are able to make a case that the output is going to provide a return, not only for yourself to meet your needs, but also for the investor, and you have to talk about it in about that specific arm of your business, then we can make a case for putting money into that arm of your business, right? So focusing on that arm of business in your pitch is very clear that you want investment for the fish farming arm of your business. I say it again, clarity is more important than the content or any other pizzazz you want to. You just have to be very clear to people, because remember, venture capital investment is serious business. Money can disappear, money can be lost, money can go down the drain. People's life savings can be lost. Things they worked for so many years, if they put in a vehicle that is not good enough to carry or allow that capital be what it's supposed to be, right? So that's the answer. All right, we've come to the hour. I want to thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for staying. Thank you very much, SMEDAN. Thank you, Shina. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, the Director General, Charles Odi. I wish you all well. I want to hear of your successes. I'll be here cheering for you. With that said, Shina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brian Orji, for that impactful session. Just as the participants are expressing in the comment section, it's been a wonderful, wonderful session. We learned to tailor our pitches to investor expectations. It's been wonderful just learning about how to structure your business, and of course, how to also communicate the structure. We've learned the importance of having a promising team if you're just at the idea level, because at that stage, investors are not just making a bet on your business innovation idea, but also making a bet on you and the team that would execute that vision. It's been very, very enlightening all around. I'm sure that the participants are looking forward to other sessions that obviously would discuss various other aspects as far as raising capital, particularly from the private sector, is concerned, because what we've come to realize is that government funds in a developing country like Nigeria can be limited. It is not a finite source. Therefore, the onus is on businesses, especially small businesses, to see how they can raise catalytic funding from other ventures, such as the private sector, whether in Nigeria or outside of the country. And some of those you've also highlighted was venture capital investments as well. So I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to lead this session and to share from your experience as well. I also want to thank the participants for being here. It's a weekend. Most people would just want to rest or try to prepare for the coming week, but you've taken time because you also understand the importance of raising capital for your business. Also to inform us that the session was broadcast live on YouTube, and so it would always be available. So if there's something you want to refer to, if there's something you'd like to refresh your memory on, you can always go on our YouTube page at SMEDAN Official to stream this session live. It's always going to be there, and so it can become a course material that you can always refer to, whether now or later on. So thank you all very much for joining. We're going to be holding more sessions tomorrow at the agency. There is a live physical training, but this time focused on the African Free Continental Trade Agreement. That training will be led by Professor Jonathan Arebo sent invites to the shortlisted participants. And we're looking forward to hosting everyone there. Thank you all so much for joining. We're going to send notice on subsequent training, whether it's going to be virtual or physical. So we're going to be ending the session now. And again, our gratitude to the facilitator and also to all the participants. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you and goodbye.